Hello everyone, welcome to the March 3rd League of Legends DFS Slate Esports Breakdown. All the words. Normally, you guys are probably thinking, why on earth would the person who says, don't touch LCK and don't touch 2Gamers be making a video about an LCK 2Gamer? Good question. Glad you guys asked that. The answer is because I actually really like a couple of these spots. As you guys know, I've been alluding and hinting to this for quite some time. That I think this is going to be a great spot for GENG over T1. I'm excited. I have yet to see the odds on this game, but in my mind, I think it's T1 minus 150, GENG like plus 100-ish. I think those are probably like fairish odds. Nongshim KDF. I think Nongshim should probably be like a pretty reasonable favorite here. If you're asking me how I'm pricing this slate, I think Nongshim should be the biggest favorite on this slate. Then T1 a slight favorite, GENG slight underdog, KDF rather large underdog. The price I have in my mind, I don't know why, like Nongshim like minus 220-ish. That sounds like a reasonable range, I think, for the gap between these teams. So this is gonna be a pretty cool spot for me because I've been looking forward to this slate in these games for a few days now. It's rare that I like look ahead and look forward to spots like multiple days in advance. I rarely even look ahead to like the next day. I usually wait for like one slate to be over to even think about the next one. But I saw this spot from like 5 or 6 days ago and I've been excited for it ever since. So here's the big odds reveal. I'm excited to see this. Wow, T1 minus 210, Nongshim minus 145. Ooh. I mean, I kind of expected this to happen, but man, is it a shock to me. The Nongshim price actually does kind of make sense. I think that's a little fair. I think both of these odds are relatively fair, but I'm liking these spots a lot. That's the reason I kind of just went over this, so I'm kind of repeating myself here. But this is the sole reason I'm playing an LCK 2 gamer when I hate LCK and I hate 2 gamers, for DFS purposes at least. I think this is going to be a smash spot for GENG. I think this is going to be a super, super close, really tightly contested 50-50 series. I think GENG are being really, really disrespected because they've had players out for COVID. Things are going like in and out between them. But I think this is a spot where everyone kind of buckles up their bootstraps and they try to beat this 12-0 T1 team. I'd argue GENG is probably the only competitor to T1 in the LCK at all at the moment. And the first round robin, GENG lost like half their roster to COVID, so it wasn't really like a fair fight. I think this T1 team is pretty like really, really overrated, especially relative to the world, relative to the league. Like, I just think they're really overrated in like everybody's minds, especially for people who don't watch the LCK consistently. I see a lot of Western like analysts or people who claim to be like analysts. I don't want to name names, but I think somebody like, I think maybe it was K-Droll. I'm not sure who. Maybe I'm messing up people. So I apologize if that wasn't who said it, but they said T1 is like the best team in the world right now. Here's the thing. I think T1 is, one, they've had a lot of sloppy games that have gone their way. I don't necessarily want to say it's luck. I do think they're a really good team. I'm not questioning that. I just think they're overrated relative to where they actually are. I think, two, they're taking advantage of a really, really soft league. Nobody in that league is looking really good at the moment. I would say T1 and GENG are probably the only like top contending teams. I think at least when you put them in like a worlds bucket, like when we're talking about teams that can win worlds, I think GENG, T1 are the only teams that have been playing like to that level. I would argue probably Dumwon can get to that level. They probably should get back to that level. I'd hope they get a different top laner in summer, but that's a kind of a different story for a different day. Yeah, I mean, I just think like when you take into account the fact that their record looks hyper inflated, I think they've had a few close calls that could have gone either way, and a lot of them went their way. You could argue I think there is a fair argument to say like that's somewhat of a skill to pull out wins out of a hat like that, but it's still gonna be tough, especially I think against like a really solid Gen G team. Um, I'm really excited for this Gen G roster. I think they when things come together for them, they're gonna be super super good. They're probably my pick to be the number one team in the LCK come end of the year. And I think this is probably just like a buy low spot on Gen G and a sell high spot on T1. This was the same analogy I used for FPX and Thunder Talk, I believe, um, when he hit that big upset. So I'm kind of just applying the same logic here. I'm pretty excited for this game, for this series. I'm super excited to watch these teams. Um, I just think this is going to be the spot where T1 let one go. Maybe it's 2-1. It probably goes 3. I'd have to imagine. These are two really, really strong teams still. I just think it's a lot closer than these lines are given credit for. And, we'll just have to look and see. Minus 225 seems a little crazy. To quote myself from February 27th, I believe, I said, if there's a plus money number next to Gen G in this T1 series, give me all of it. And I am standing by that. It's rare that I have very, very hot, solid takes about this stuff. This would probably be one of those situations. Again, I try to recommend caution still. Like, nobody can predict this future. I would say, like, if you guys are a firm believer kind of in what I say most of the time, then this would be a good spot. I think this is just one of the better spots. Again, it's tough because I don't want to guarantee something. Like, I just want you guys always to kind of have it in the back of your head that the money you're putting in for gambling is probably lost. Like, if you're gambling, then you need to be pretty happy with if it loses, it loses. I just think this is a really good spot. That's all. Like, it's very rare that I have a good level of confidence in these games. There's a lot of unknown factors in them. This just feels like a good Gen G upset spot. Again, I think there definitely is still a realm where kind of T1 proved me wrong. I have been super impressed with T1 recently. They've been upping the pace tremendously. It's been catching a lot of teams off guard, but I don't think it's going to catch Gen G off guard. They have Pina, who obviously performed really well in the in the LPL. Obviously, pace isn't going to be a problem for him. Gen G, I think, is the perfect match when it comes to taking down T1, especially if they continue to play at a hyper aggressive pace that we've been seeing. And I just think they have the players in every area to do so. I think Doran is definitely better than Zeus. I think Pina is better than Wunner. I think Chovy is better than Faker. I think Gumayushi and Keria are definitely better than Ruler and Lehens, but I don't think it's that big of a gap. So I just think overall, pen to paper, I think Gen G are probably the better team. I don't know that much about coaching. I haven't been loving the T1 drafts, but I think they've been playing them fairly well. I just think this is such a good spot for Gen G. Plus 170 is the price they're giving us. I like them. I like this money line. Plus 1.5, minus 175. That's really crazy, to be honest. If you're looking at spread bets, I'd almost argue that the T1 side is a little bit better. But I don't think that's really a good bet either way. If I'm betting this series, I'm going Gen G money line, or for a little bit safer, I think over 2.5 is fine. I wonder what the over-unders in this game is. I'd reckon 25.5 is my guess. 24.5. I think this is a fair price. Over 24.5 game one. I think that's definitely fair. I think both these teams have been upping the aggression really high. I think this is going to be a rare action-packed LCK game. Again, I don't love how juiced these numbers get. Minus 115 on both sides. That is super, super juiced. That is pretty disgusting. I think map 110 that's fine. I think that's a fine number. 24.5, that's definitely reasonable, I think, in this series of these teams. I don't know. I just think this is going to be a great spot for T1. For Gen G. I think I think Gen G is a better team. I think T1 have been flying a little bit close to the sun, and I think this is the time they get burnt. Nothing bad to say really about most of these players. I think T1 is still an elite team. I just think this is a super, super close series. and I think this is the one where T1 drop it. That's just kind of it. I don't know. Maybe I think if T1 win this series, then they probably go undefeated in the year. The rest of their schedule is really really soft. So it's kind of like this is probably like the last chance for T1 to lose. Otherwise, the whole split is undefeated for them. I don't know. It's gonna be tough. I think it's gonna be super close. I just like the GENG side. I feel like they have they definitely have the ability. They have the players. They have the pieces. This line seems a little crazy to me. Minus 220 for T1. I think GENG definitely the large value side. I'm looking for GENG heavily on money line. I think the map one over 24.5 is a nice bet. I don't necessarily love that again because the juice is so heavy there. Less confident, but I think it's still like a fair bet is over 2.5 plus 110. Getting plus money on that, I think is I think that's fair. Yeah, I mean, I just love GENG. I think T1 GENG is definitely going to be the way more action-packed game of the two. So I'm going to be heavy on GENG. I'll look into getting unique builds, but I think there's definitely ones where you can have like a peanut captain. I don't even think this is a crazy Doran captain spot. We've seen top laners have some hot performances as of late. I think Doran is definitely capable of it. We'll have to look at stats here in a second, but I think Doran is capable because of who I'm pairing them up with, and I think Nongshim, this is a good spot for them to kind of put a stamp on how good they actually are. Again, I think Nongshim is being extremely underrated within the league at the moment. Again, they had a lot of like COVID problems as well. I thought they were looking really good before the COVID stuff hit them. Their record feels really, really like inflated the other way. I don't know how to word that, but it feels like their number of losses is inflated like that. I don't think they're a 4-8 team by any stretch. That is why they are a favorite against Kwangdong, who's in 5th place. I would say this game should be Nongshim like minus 220. I feel like these teams are not that close. I feel like Nongshim has proven to me a good bit when they do have their full roster. I'd assume they have Peter back and everything. Like, I just want to make sure there's nothing happening with these teams, because the news on this stuff is far between. Canada, Dread, BDD, Ghost, and Peter. So yeah, they have the full array back of Nongshim players. There is still a little bit of concern that they haven't been playing together again for long. This is only their 3rd series back together, I believe. Yeah, they had an effort here against T1. So yeah, I don't know. I just feel like Nongshim overall are going to be the better team. When you look at these teams long term, I think Nongshim is definitely going to be the better team. There's just a little bit of hesitancy with not a lot of practice like in between that time. Kwangdong have been playing together since week 1. I don't think they've had any like substitutes or swapping anything. So that is kind of just the concern, if there is any. But again, I actually really like this spot for Nongshim. These are probably like 2 of my darling teams in the LCK. That's probably what's inspiring me to make this video and play this slate. Again, if you GENG T1, definitely the more active of the 2 games. But I think Nongshim do have the ability to push the pace. I still don't think it's going to match the level of GENG T1. So it's a clear number 1 of the GENG T1 series, and then it's Nongshim KDF. If I'm picking teams, I definitely like the GENG side. I like the Nongshim side. I think they both get it done. I'm looking forward to these games. It's very rare that I'm looking forward to these LCK games. Most of them are pretty boring, but I think these are good games and present good opportunities here. We can look at get some stats here. Again, probably just going to set it to February. Maybe that's a little bit too much at the moment, but we'll make do with what we have. GENG, we're probably going to have to filter by players just because they've had so many subs and stuff. Doran, Chovy, Peanut, Lahens, Ruler. And on Nongshim we have Doran. Oh no, who's Dread, Kana, BDD, Ghost, Peter. All right, so we have the 10 players in there, sorting by participation. It's looking like GENG pretty heavy there. They have Chovy, Lahens, Peanut, Ruler. Doran again is above 60. That's kind of like my threshold there. not looking great for Nongshim kill participations. BDD, Ghost, definitely have Ghost as the AD, not support. That was when he had to like kind of fill in. Chovy top lane, not looking good there. I wish you could filter those out, but you really can't. So, yeah, I mean, it's looking like a fairly obvious build here. It's looking like, again, Dread, Peter are the more. Sorry, I don't know why I'm struggling getting this out, but it's looking like those are the important pieces there for Nongshim. Let's check for what happens just in their victories. So it's looking a little bit different for victories. It's looking like Dread is up there. That's support Ghost. Looks like Peter's still there. Ghost, BDD, and Canna are kind of low. Doran still around that 60, but not great. Chovy still top of the leaderboard there. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to change that. So it's definitely looking like GENG have the more condensed, like they have the more team fighting style. They definitely have more participation overall as a team. So it's looking like GENG are definitely gonna be the primary stack I'm aiming at with some Nongshim. Again, I think you can mix and match captains. I think you have the whole. I think you have every like option to you if you do GENG stacks. Yeah, so you have all GENG options if you go with Nongshim and GENG. I think that's a good way to view it. I think if you were to drop down to double mids and have a Chovy captain, I think there definitely is a world where you can do support captain, or sorry, not support. Do not do support captains. Jungle captains, I meant. AD captains are the best option typically, but they're also going to be mostly owned as well. And very rarely do people do different types of captains when you have underdogs in it. Like nobody's gonna like I just did with this one. If you do like this type of build with heavily GENG, you have $1,600 on the table. It's very rare that people are going to drop down to like a mid lane captain. This you do see some of these, but not as often. 1,900 left on the table. If you do like, I think even dropping down to a jungle captain, it is super unlikely that the junglers kind of outperform everyone else, and that's kind of who you want. We have been seeing some pretty good jungle scores lately in the OPHELIA at least, but I don't know if LCK's on what patch they're on. Oh, they're on 12.4 as well. So definitely a possibility. Yeah, I think mixing and match these GENG and Nongshim plays is gonna be great. I don't know if I'm going to do multiple lineups. I might end up making like 3 lineups. I might have like an AD captain, a mid captain, and a jungle captain just to have different variations. I'm not sure. I know for a fact I'm gonna have a 4-man GENG stack with the 2-man Nongshim stack. I know for a fact that's gonna be my build. It just kind of depends on who and what and like where I want these players. I might have to go check out like specific scoreboards and stuff to get a better grasp on this. Let's take a quick gander at kill share. So Chovy, Ghost, BDD, Ruler. So Chovy's numbers are looking pretty great. So he looks like a really solid captain option. I'd imagine he'd be relatively popular. But I'm not sure. Again, I say this every video, but I'm not an ownership person that much. So I mean the ADs have pretty low kill shares. BDD's kill participation is pretty bad. Let's look at all results again to see where BDD's at. Yeah, he's still pretty low. He's behind Peter, Dread, and then BDD. I mean, overall, looks like Nongshim isn't that great. Again, overall, it just kind of comes down to. I mean, BDD's outperforming Ghost. That's kind of all you need is if you're doing mid captains, you just kind of need the mids to outperform the ADs since that's going to be the most popular version. So I think that's definitely an option. I feel like I'm kind of just talking in circles now. I think I've made my point. Yeah, I'm taking the hard stand tonight. If these teams beat me, then they beat me. I'll eat the um, I'll just have to suck it up and kind of think I'm wrong if these happen. Definitely a possibility. I don't want you guys to kind of get the wrong idea and think, oh, he's confident in this. This is a good spot to put down more money than I should. Again, exercise caution, maintain betting responsibility. I want to stress that enough. Um, but I mean, I might be like a little bit heavier on this series on this game than I should be. Maybe a little bit more than I do on an average night, just because I do like these spots. These spots are fairly rare. When you're really liking a spot, you're pretty confident in it. Um, I don't know. Just in my experience, these spots do come through more often than not. When I look back at like the more recent ones, when I was pretty confused by the lines, I do think about the Thunder Talk versus FPX game. Big underdog in the LPL, plus 475. We got the Thunder Talk upset. The only other one that I can remember, vehemently, vehemently. You guys know the word I'm looking for. The only one I was like really confident and cocky on was this V5 Top Esports series. I was very surprised V5 were the underdog. They definitely shouldn't have been against Top Esports. V5 came through. That reminds me again, V5 versus LNG. I said V5 should have been the favorite. They were the underdog against LNG. V5 came through. I just think if you're looking at the if you know more about the LPL and you're looking at the LCK, I think V5 are kind of like the equivalent of the GENG team to me, at least. I think GENG is not getting that much respect. I think GENG is arguably the best team in the league. I felt the same against about V5 here. I've rode V5 pretty heavily to their successes. So that's gonna be my continuation pick here. I'm just gonna go GENG. I'm gonna go Nongshim. I feel like GENG are getting a little disrespected in the odds markets. I think Nongshim are getting a little disrespected in the odds markets. I'm excited for both of these teams in the future. I think both of these teams are gonna these games for both of these teams, Nongshim and GENG. That's gonna be very telling, and I just think this is the right side of them. I'd imagine overall GENG will be pretty popular. But again, I thought RNG would be popular last night, and they were half as owned as Weibo. I checked ownerships, and I saw that Gala was 18 and Huanfeng was 36, and I couldn't stop laughing. Like I just could not believe that. Um, I mean, I just don't. I can't. I don't know how to explain that. I thought that was the most obvious spot on the slate. I thought you could get like leverage and get cute and go Weibo, but I didn't know Weibo was gonna be like the chalk. Um, so I mean that just goes to show I really don't know ownerships. But I don't know. I just feel like GENG and Nongshim is gonna be a really good spot. I think these are both good spots for both of these teams, and obviously enough for me to get invested in an LCK2 gamer. So I don't think there's really much else to say. I just think these good spots for both these teams. I'll ride them pretty heavily. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Again, exercise betting responsibility. Don't go too crazy on this just because I'm confident in it. Although it is a rarity, it doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to be right. Yeah, I mean that's just kind of it. Yeah, I mean LCK2 gamer, not much to go through. I guess I didn't recap anything. What did we have yesterday? I think I'm done talking about the tomorrow's games at this point. So if you guys, if that's what you're here for, then feel free to check out and leave. Yeah, I guess we didn't talk about yesterday. Yesterday I did have some hot takes and we can kind of cover them. Yeah, I don't know why I forgot about recapping, but quick recap at the end of the video, I guess, because I forgot. We had EDG 2-0 and RNG 2-0. I was on EDG pretty heavily to get this 2-0. Again, they were large favorites. It's not a hot take to have the much better team get the 2-0. They're really large kill shares, kills in both of these games. Really happy with the performances from these. I had a I had like a semi unique variation on how I built the lineup for that slate. I had my secondary stack in my captain spot, so I had two EDG players. However, I put Scout and Captain, and then I had JJ in the jungle. And then for the RNG side, I went with Bin, Xiaohu, Gala, and Ming, but none of them captains. I think that was a pretty unique approach to the slate. I was pretty happy with it. Obviously, that was the exact lineup that won the 10K. The only difference was the team slot. The 10K winner won off to the team slot of Damwon over EDG. For some reason, EDG just never had dragons, so that bit me really hard. I mean, I'm not too stressed about it because I did end up making a lot of money last night anyway. Um, but man, it's tough when you're like a one when you're just one move away from splitting the 10K up top. It's a little tough pill. It's a tough pill to swallow, but it is what it is. Again, super surprised. So many people were on Weibo. I thought RNG was going to be the mega chalk, the obvious place that people would go. Everyone would pair their favorites with the underdog RNG. It did not look like it. Everyone went to Weibo anyway. I'm not sure why. Like I do kind of understand it. All the trends were pointing towards Weibo being good. They were obviously top of the league. They were beating other decent teams. I just feel like people really overrated Weibo. I feel like they are good, but they're not number one team in the league good. I feel like RNG have that potential. They have the ability to be number one team in the league good, and that's kind of what we bought into, and that's kind of what happened for us. Um, yeah, I mean that's kind of all it came down to. And I don't even know what happened in the LCK yesterday. I couldn't care. I didn't have money on it anywhere. I think Damwon got the 2-0, but they were relatively slow games. Um, I think Fred Brion got the 2-1, but they were also slow games. Not much to write home about at all. So yeah, I mean we got there. We did a great job yesterday. We try to continue tonight. Again, a rare day off for the LPL. But luckily we have an LCK slate that I like. So yeah, that's exciting for us. We have some. I don't know what these aren't the greatest LPL games for tomorrow, but we'll probably be playing it anyway, and we'll take a look at them and stuff. So yeah, that'll be it for me tonight. I have a CS:GO and a Call of Duty video coming out sometime after this one. I wanted to get this video out first because the slate starts sooner. So yeah, hopefully you guys tune in for those. I've been doing pretty well in both of those games also. I know if you check the description and look at my record for those, they aren't looking great, but just know that for both of those, for CS:GO and Call of Duty, they're a lot more volatile. Um, so the record's definitely going to look worse when you look at it, but for like a few of those, like for at least for the Call of Duty ones, I've won like I won enough money in week one to probably fund the rest of the season. So that's like how much, like that's how well I did early on. Despite the poor record, all you need is like a couple big underdogs to win you a good tournament, and we're chilling. And that's what happened in Call of Duty. In CS:GO, we had something similar. I think I won like $500 yesterday in the CS:GO. I got top five, or 2 days ago I got top five in the 10K. And then I won every single entry thing. So we're running pretty hot at the moment, and we're looking to try to continue that. Um, I don't know. Everything's kind of a blur right now. I'm super busy in real life, but I'm trying to keep up with the videos. I'm trying to maintain the quality of kind of what I'm saying. Like I still want to watch all these games. I want to continue doing things correctly and having a good eye test on on these games and these teams. Um, so it's tough. It's tough. That's why all these videos usually come out pretty late, is because I don't want to just kind of throw something out there. I'd like to have a good idea of what I'm putting out there. I don't want to. I don't want to pretend to be something that I'm not. I'm at the end of the day, I'm kind of just a guy talking about these games. The reason I don't bring up a lot of statistics, kind of just the ones that matter to me, is because I do have a unique approach. If we get a break in action from like CS:GO and League and Call of Duty, if there is like a couple of days off where I have a time to do this, probably gonna make a video on kind of my history in esports. I'm not like a prolific figure at all. Like I've just been kind of a viewer the whole time. But if you guys don't know, like I've been watching League of Legends professionally since Bjergsen joined TSM, so that was 2014, I believe, since like season 3. So I've been in that scene for 8 years. I would argue I was probably in CS:GO maybe a little bit before then, maybe around that time period also. So I've been in this scene grinding these streets for 8 years. Yeah, I mean that's just kind of my how I do it. And maybe it's a little bit of like a old head thing, at least in the esports realm. I feel like I'm an old person in that area. You know, when you ask your grandpa about football, I'd imagine that he'll tell you about how this player was so good. You just kind of had to watch him. That's kind of how I view these games. Is just a lot more watching them and seeing as opposed to checking out some of the advanced stats. I feel like sometimes you'll get lost in those. Um, I don't know. At least in esports, because it is a new market, relatively untapped, unfiltered, unadulterated market with so much raw material here. And I feel like my wisdom and my ability and my skill set is trying to just look at these games, look at these players, look at what's happening, and try to decipher kind of what's real and what's fake, especially in terms of like results. I think that's going to be kind of culminating to the test tonight. I think that's what's so exciting about this T1 GenG series. Is it's going to be a real stamp of approval if I can get this GenG win. I'm feeling pretty heavily. I feel pretty confident in this GenG win over T1. So that's just kind of like what it's all about, what I'm looking to do, and yeah, that's just kind of it. Hopefully, I did see some rumors of like some COVID worries for GenG. I should double check that. Um, Let me look again. Yeah, man. So this came out 42 minutes ago. Ruler tested positive for COVID. Quarantining to focus on his recovery. Future matches will act in accordance to LCK's guidelines and make an announcement shortly. Man. So no ruler. I don't know if they're gonna roll swap somebody down to AD. I'm not sure what the plan is. They said they didn't have a plan quite yet. This is the first game of the series, so we will probably know what's happening before then. So keep an eye out. That definitely does change things again. That is tough, especially when you consider that the T1 bottom lane, Gumayushi and Keria are probably the best in the world at their positions. Definitely Keria, the best support in the world. Gumayushi probably top 3 or top 5 AD. Having to put in like either an academy AD or they might move somebody down to AD. I could see, maybe this is crazy, maybe low key we could see Doran move to AD. I'm not sure, and they'll bring in like Zest for top lane or something. We'll look and see. We'll probably have an idea of that sometime in the near future. Man, that sucks. We're not going to get a full strength GenG and T1 series until playoffs, it looks like. So I don't know. Hopefully you guys are still tuned in by now and have realized that GenG isn't playing, or sorry, that Ruler isn't playing for GenG. That's pretty tough. That definitely does change things a little. I'm still liking the GenG side, but definitely just not as heavy, not as hard there. I'm probably just more on the like normal like probably just take a regular sprinkle amount of Genji and pair them up with Nongshim. I think those things are still remaining the same. Um, it's just not like a slam dunk spot like maybe how I thought it was. Again, I think ADC is a relatively easy role to autofill because they're not going to be talking and making shot calls most of the time. They just kind of fill in and do their job. A basketball equivalent to an ADC, I think, is just kind of like a spot up 3-point shooter. They just kind of sit in the corner, and if they get a great pass, they could just have to knock it down. I think that's kind of the equivalent of like what an ADC is in League of Legends, at least currently, because isn't really playmaking ADCs. It's mostly just Jinx Aphelios. They just kind of sit there, farm, and let everyone else around them do everything. Again, but when you're going from Ruler, who's like a really good player, to we don't even know who's going to be playing, there's definitely going to be a drop off. I don't know. It's tough. Again, this really sucks, but I'm still probably just going to ride with Genji. I still think T1 are overrated. I still think Genji are relatively underrated. Again, it would have been nice to have the full lineup, but I guess it's only one player, and it is one of the lesser important roles. It sucks, but I'm still just going to ride with Genji and Nongshim no matter what. But that's probably going to be it for me. That news kind of sucks and it kind of ruins it, but I don't know. I need to finish this video and get it uploaded, so that'll be it for me tonight. Best luck to you guys. Looking like we're returning to 5 gamers again tomorrow, so I'll be there for that. Again, check out CSGO and Call of Duty. I'm going to make some videos on those, and yeah, best luck tonight.